Let's move to this now. South Africa's tourism sector, hurt by 2 summers, lost to the pandemic, is hoping for a bumper festive season. But the country's energy crisis, as well as higher airfare fees, are dampening expectations. And that's not stopping, however, Sun International from batting big this coming December. It has announced an 800 million rand extension of the Sun Vacation Club. Heidi Giokos is enduring the tough job of being at Sun City. Quite jealous this morning, if I have to say so, colleague, but good morning to you. I mean, quite a big budget. It seems Sun International quite intentional with ensuring that they approach December and the festive season ready to accommodate South Africans who are holiday makers, of course, normally during around that time. But what details can you tell us about this planned initiative?
Yes, so I think we should get into those details a little later on when we actually go and see that development. But yes, as you said, a very tough job. I'm out here in Sun City where it's very hot. But I must say, Tumelo, that we are here at very different times, because when we were here last year at about mid-July, they had turned part of Sun City into a vaccination site, and it was completely deserted and empty because of the hard lockdowns that were imposed because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But we are joined by the resort's general manager, Brett Happy. Thank you so much for your time, Brett. We appreciate it. The last time I spoke to you, you had a syringe in your arm, but very different times, and I must say positive, given the fact that tourism is picking up. Maybe tell us what numbers you are seeing and if things are recovering post COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah, a very different time. Welcome back to Sun City. It's a privilege to have you here, and especially since I don't have a needle in my arm this time. But yes, we've been very blessed. You know, the industry is definitely showing signs of recovery, and in particular at Sun City, you know, we've been very buoyant from a domestic market perspective and a conference market. You know, the conference market has returned with a vengeance, and you know that trend seems to continue forward into 2023. The international market is showing some signs of recovery, certain markets quicker than others, you know, and it's a factor of airlift. You know, we've got flights coming in from Delta into Cape Town now, and our ability to grow tourism in South Africa is really a factor of international airlift. So, you know, that's the big challenge, how quickly markets return to us with the relevant airlift. But very exciting times, and you know, much more power.
Sure. I want us to speak about the kind of tourists that you are bringing into Sun City, and I ask this in the context of what's happened to a German tourist earlier this week. Of course, this might be some kind of concern for you, because tourists might be looking at South Africa and going, well, crime is really out of control now. Are you worried about that?
We're certainly very worried. I mean, our condolences go out to the families concerned. It's devastating. I mean, you know, and after all the hard work we've done in terms of marketing South Africa, one incident like this sets us back significantly. So I think the whole industry is concerned. We're working extremely hard. And from our perspective and from the industry perspective, you know, we view ourselves as a safe destination. Unfortunately, one incident like this reverses all the immense work done by South African tourism, by the Tourism Business Council of South Africa, and all the inroads we've made into the international markets from a recovery perspective, you know, coming out of COVID. So the timing really is not great for us and for anyone, and I'm sure I speak for the whole industry. We're really, really devastated to have an incident like this that's occurred in our sector. It's just heartbreaking.
I want us to speak about the energy crisis. I know there are generators here, but how sustainable is that? It seems as though load shedding is inevitable, and the stages just seem to be getting worse and worse. For September, we've seen basically the whole of September with different stages of load shedding. Is this affecting you?
Obviously, from a financial perspective, it's affecting us significantly. I mean, if I showed you my diesel bill months to date, your eyes would water. So, and I think it's the unpredictability of it. You know, from a Sun City point of view, we're fairly blessed with our infrastructure, but it comes at a cost. And similarly for the whole industry, you know, so it is a real concern at the moment, and I think the stability is a concern. You know, if you go back a few weeks, we suddenly had stage 6 out of nowhere, which impacted on our operations in a certain sense, and obviously we had to up our generator utilisation. I think there are other knock-on consequences that are occurring at the moment. We're starting to experience some diesel shortages in terms of diesel supply. So, you know, it's a really tenuous situation at the moment, and we're concerned.
I would love to know what your diesel bill looks like, but let me not be a typical journalist. Just lastly, I want to speak about the prices that is emanating from domestic flights. That seems to be a problem. We don't have many domestic airlines operating after what happened to SA Express, Mango, as well as Comair. Is this impacting you at all?
I do think it's impacting, and in particular as we return to international business. I mean, you can't have a situation where your domestic sectors are costing you as much as your international inbound ticket. I mean, South Africa is an extremely affordable venue when it comes to your ground in terms of accommodation, food, beverage, etc., etc. But given the capacity constraints, and you just look at a simple flight to Cape Town, versus a few months ago, it is significantly increased in price and also constrained in demand. If you look at the period over the sevens in Cape Town, for example, and I know the airlines did everything within their power to add capacity, but you couldn't get into Cape Town. So when we're doing these large-scale events and as international starts normalising again, I think it's a real concern. Chatting to the airlines and the carriers, they're ramping up their domestic capacity as fast as they possibly can. I was with the CEO of SAFE 2 weeks ago over the Tourism Business Council of South Africa meeting here, and I said, how difficult is it? How quickly can you ramp up? And they said, it's not that easy of a process to ramp up capacity, secure equipment, etc. So, I think the airlines are well aware of it, and it's something that everyone's working on, and I think there is money obviously to be made in that aspect, but it's going to be, I think we're behind the eight ball on that on our capacities.
Just lastly, I don't want to end off on a negative note and with challenges, but if you compare numbers from September last year to September this year, I'm sure you've seen a very sharp increase. There's obviously a demand and an appetite for tourists to come and just be free, because we had really tough 2 years.
Absolutely, and I mean, interestingly, we are starting to track up on our 2019 numbers, because I think that's the point of reference for us. We're all looking back to 2019 as being the last stable period from a comparison perspective. So we are starting to track ahead of that, and that's really exciting. And again, maybe Sun City not really manifesting the same trend we consider to be insular and safe. I mean, in light of what's occurred in Mpumalanga, Sun City is really, really tight from a security perspective. So, we are fairly blessed in that regard, but we've seen a massive spike in demand. For this month, as we stand at the moment, we're sitting on a 72% average occupancy across the property, which is really, really exciting. It's the first time we've breached the 70s for a long time, since 2019, so very exciting. And I mean, that's in the absence of a lot of the international markets having returned. So I think as we look forward to 2023, really, really exciting. We do have our challenges, make no mistake, but I think the whole industry's aligned. We know where we're going, we know what we need to do, and I think South Africa is well positioned as we go into 2023 to see a full return to international business.
Great, thank you so much, and we wish you all the best. That was Brett Hoppy, who's the Resort General Manager, and I think it's really encouraging to see, Tumelo, because as I alluded to you earlier on, in mid-July when we were here for that vaccination rollout, it was completely deserted. Many people coming through. It's also school holidays, so I think that's contributing to the numbers, but we'll just have to wait and see what December brings. But I think South Africans feel very relieved that tourism is open again, travel freely.
All right, well, Heidi Giokos, thank you so much for bringing this story for us. It seems that different holiday destinations doing the best they can, really, such as the likes of Sun International, to ensure that even with the challenges brought forward by COVID-19, brought forward by, the state of the economy in the country, they do their best to still accommodate both local and international tourists. Thank you so much to my colleague, Heidi Giokos.